Well, good evening, everyone. Ask if you can grab a seat that's closest to you. Good evening, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Mount Zion Baptist Church, the Dunbar Center. I am Atu White. I have the privilege of serving as the pastor here. I want to welcome you into our doors. We have a lot of activities that are happening tonight, from competitive cheerleading to photography classes to basketball. But thank you so much for being here as we hear from candidates in this critical and crucial conversation. Tonight's forum is sponsored by PVP, the NAACP, Mass Senior Action, Neighbor to Neighbor, and the Pastors Council of Greater Springfield, and So No One Leaves. Let's give a hand to all of our sponsors. We are live streaming tonight on our Facebook page. You can search for us, Mount Zion Baptist Church, on Facebook, or you can search for us on YouTube, Mount Zion Baptist Church, Greater Springfield, or you can visit our website, wearemounttzion.com, so that you can like and share tonight's forum, so that people can be informed of all the wonderful things that are happening in our great Commonwealth. So welcome.
All right, thank you, Pastor White. Good evening. Y'all can do better than that. Good evening. All right, I'm Bishop Talbert Swan II, President of the Greater Springfield NAACP, and we want to welcome you to tonight's forum. Now, keep in mind, this is a forum, not a formal debate. So there will be questions asked, and each candidate will have the opportunity. I'm just going to kind of give you the format and lay down the rules of the road. There are going to be some index cards passed around, and you as the audience are going to be able to write down any questions that you have of the candidates for any segment of tonight's forum. So please take advantage of that, write down those questions. There will be a period of turn and talk where you'll engage with each other for a moment. Then we'll have candidate statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement. That's 2 chronological minutes, not 2 colored folk minutes, 2 Caucasian folk minutes, just 2 chronological minutes for opening statements. Then there will be some predetermined questions that will be asked. You will have 1 minute to answer those questions. There will be a timekeeper. And the timekeeper will hold up a sign to let you know when your time is up. When your time is up, be quiet. Oh, I didn't get no help right there. But when your time is up, your time is up. And then we can move on and keep this thing on track. So each one has 2 minutes for opening statements, 1 minute for your responses to the question. Please, if you have questions for the segment that we are currently putting before you, write those down and get those in so that those who are moderating and asking the question can choose from the audience question to ask your question. Now, if you put it in the form of a question, it is more likely to be selected. Not in the form of a soliloquy, of a dissertation. You know how we do. Well, I got a statement first and then a question. No, a question. Those are the rules for tonight. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you, candidates, for being here. And let's get ready to rumble.
Hello, Springfield. My name's Tyler Jones. I'm a housing organizer with Springfield No One Leaves. We're a housing justice nonprofit in Springfield. We've been battling the housing crisis since 2010. And I'm gonna lead us through a turn and talk. Everyone online, please, with the questions I ask, just turn to anyone you're near or, think out loud. But I'm gonna lead us through a turn and talk, so everyone pick a partner near them. I'm gonna give 3 minutes for each person to talk. And the questions are gonna be, what is the stake for this election? What are you looking for in the people who you want to represent you, your community, and our Commonwealth? So turn to a partner near you and start talking. Alrighty, start wrapping that last thought up, everyone. Start bringing it in. Alrighty. And that's what community is about, guys. So I definitely say if you guys really love those conversations, stay after and turn and talk a little more. But yeah, let's have an amazing forum tonight.
So we're going to do the candidate statements now? They're coming? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure who was going to do that. Okay, Semper, you can come and orchestrate the candidate statements. The person with the index cards, we have somebody over here that needs an index card, if we can walk around with those.
Thank you. All right, folks. So I'm just going to reiterate because we want to make sure we have some pre-designated questions that we have prepared, that the committee has prepared to ask the candidates that are here today. But I think the most important part is that the questions coming from you get asked. So just to reiterate that if you have an index card, you're going to be writing on that index card the questions for each race. So right now, so all of you should have multiple index cards, for one. Raise your hand if you got multiple index cards. All right, so, so for the people in the room who have index cards, if you could be passing out multiple, on your index cards right now, you should be writing questions for the candidate running for U.S. Senate. The candidate we have here today is Seth Moulton. So Seth, if you're in the space, come on up. Thank you. And this is an audience that has free will, so I'm going to encourage you to applaud for the candidates that you want to applaud for. All of the candidates were invited today, and not all of them are here. So I do think that there's a level of respect that we should give to the candidates that showed up. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So you're writing your questions for Seth Moulton. I'm going to ask this gentleman a few questions, and then we're going to be collecting the ones from you. We're going to sort of consolidate because we can't ask every single question because I don't know if y'all know, but we have like a lot of races to get through. So, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. My name is Simrit Paskins, and I work with Neighbor to Neighbor. And so if you would, please share with us your opening statement.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you all very much for hosting this forum. It's an honor to be back in Western Massachusetts. You talked about showing up, and I think showing up matters everywhere. You have to show up for the people that you actually work for. Can't really be an effective representative in Washington if you don't show up to the people you work for, but it's especially important in Western Massachusetts because as I have gone around the state, I hear time and time again, we don't see the senator, we don't see the representatives who are supposed to be representing our needs. How can they do that if they don't know what they are? So this is my, I think, 7th trip to Western Massachusetts just in the course of this campaign. I spent some time out here growing up because my grandparents lived out here, but the point is, it's an honor to be back, and I think it matters to show up for Western Massachusetts. Now, you asked me to just talk about, give an opening statement. Well, if you're frustrated with Washington right now, I want you to know I share your frustration. I think Washington is broken. It's not delivering for working families. And I am running because I think we need new leadership in Washington. I'm running against the establishment that has continued to fail to deliver. Now, it's important to say that Senator Markey and I agree on policies. There are 2 progressives in this race, and on the vast majority of policies, we don't have any disagreement. But there is a big difference in approach. It's in a willingness to get things done, to show up, to deliver, and to challenge the party establishment. Now, my background in service was in the Marines. I didn't join the Marines because I agreed with the war. I just didn't want anyone to fight in my place for my freedom. I was inspired to serve by Peter Gomes, a mentor that we share, a minister at my college. But when I was in Iraq, I saw the consequences of failed leadership in Washington, and I wanted to change that. And I've been running against the party establishment ever since. In my first time running against a 9-term incumbent congressman, to challenging party leadership, to telling President Biden he shouldn't run again. That's the kind of challenge that I think we need in Washington today, and that's why I'm running for Senate.
Thank you, Seth. All right, so our first question is, I think, a good segue from what you were just saying, and it's about national priorities. Can you talk about what you believe are the 3 biggest challenges facing the country today, and what specific actions would you take to address them?
Well, first of all, what really matters is not just what I think, but what all of you think. And as I've done over 50 town halls across the Commonwealth, the number 1 issue I hear is affordability, especially affordability for housing. And I believe that Democrats should plant the flag in the ground and just say that housing, healthcare, and education are human rights. Not debatable. It's completely unacceptable to have people who are homeless, who do not have healthcare, or do not get a good education because of the zip code in which they are born. And so I've laid out an aggressive affordability agenda that starts with doing things like getting private equity out of buying homes, making universal healthcare, universal pre-K. That's the number one thing. Number two, we've got to fight Trump more effectively. And you're going to see me going on national TV, not afraid to go on Fox News, take on these MAGA Republicans where they are. We need progressive fighters in Washington, and that's what I will deliver. And then the third thing is, we can have a lot of great ideas that we share as Democrats tonight. But if we don't win majorities in Washington, we're not even going to get a hearing for those ideas. So I want to get Democrats back to winning. And I started an organization called Serve America that's flipped 24 seats from red to blue. I'm going to continue that work from the United States Senate.
Thank you. So, you know, we're here in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's Western Mass, the other part of the state to our comrades in Central and Eastern Mass. Can you talk a little bit about how you would ensure that Western Mass receives the same level of attention and investment as Greater Boston?
So number one, right where I began, you need a senator who shows up, not just in election years, not just in campaign season, but who regularly comes here. And you know what? It's not that hard. You just take a flight from Washington to Hartford, you spend time out in Western Massachusetts, and then I can go back home to Salem, all right? It's not that hard, but you need to show up because you need to understand what people's needs are. This is a lesson that I learned very early in my life. You gotta be in touch with the people on the ground. The second thing, though, is we actually have to deliver transformative solutions to Western Massachusetts, and a great example is West-East Rail. Now, the senator's plan is to build a rail service that will take 2.5 hours to get to Boston. 2.5 hours, folks, is longer than driving. That's a second-class service. That's a glorified commuter train. It's the same service you had in the 1920s. We can do better than that, folks. That's why we need a new generation of leadership. And I am the congressional leader on high-speed rail. My American High-Speed Rail Act would deliver 45-minute service from Springfield to Boston. Now, that would be transformative, and that's the kind of leadership that we need. Morocco has high-speed rail. Massachusetts should have it too.
Thank you. All right, one more, talking about bipartisan leadership. Please describe a situation where you worked with people who disagreed with you to solve a difficult problem. How would you bring that approach to the U.S. Senate?
Several years ago, I became the first sitting member of Congress to talk about my own mental health when I discussed dealing with post-traumatic stress after serving in Iraq. No one had ever done that before, or at least not done it and survived it. That set me on a crusade to deliver better mental health care for America. And I teamed up with a Republican veteran across the aisle to pass 988, the National Mental Health Hotline. So anytime you see 988 posted around schools or on bridges or wherever, that's my legislation. It has already reduced teen suicide so much that it saves about an airplane full of kids, of young people in America every single month. Now, it was hard to get a Republican to agree to support health care, let alone mental health care. Republicans are working hard to take health care away from people. But I found a veteran who had had the same experience dealing with mental health in the military. He and I teamed up to pass this legislation, even when Democrats were in the minority, and it's making a massive difference in people's lives.
Thank you. So now we have some questions from the audience, and behind me are real
Great.
people, right, who would be your constituents if elected. And so they're raw and they're real, and you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. The first question says, I am currently homeless in Springfield. There have been no shelter beds available for years. What are your plans to address this?
Number one, it's just simply unacceptable, and I think Democrats have to be clear that having a place to live, having a home, is a human right. And whether you're homeless on the street, or you're someone who just can't afford to pay rent, or you're a young person who looks at school loans and says, I'm never going to be able to buy a home and not meet the American dream, that's just wrong. And we have got to change that. We've got to admit that whatever we've been doing for the last 50 years isn't working, because this isn't a new problem, folks, right? I'm running against a senator who came to Washington before I was even born. and housing prices have only skyrocketed since then. Energy prices. How many of you like your electricity bill right now? We'll have to talk later. Your electricity bill in Massachusetts is twice the national average. I think you'd like it better if it were half the cost, right? We have got to do better to bring down costs. And that's why I encourage you to go to my website and look at my affordability agenda. Thank you.
All right, so this next question reads, you have adjusted course in terms of priorities for this Senate race. In Congress, you were seen as a more moderate House member. Now you have denounced and returned, I think this says ALPAC?
APAC.
APAC, thank you, funding. Walk back some controversial statements regarding LGBT issues. And I should say that we have another question from someone in the audience who's hoping that you can speak to some of those anti-LGBTQ issues and comments that you've made in the past, and that you've embraced a more progressive agenda. Given how quickly some of your positions have flipped, what are core beliefs you hold that won't change based on the national and state environment?
I mean, first of all, the premise of the question is just false. I've always had progressive positions on a wide range of issues, and there's not a position that I've changed. I rejected AIPAC money because they have changed their position, because they are supporting Netanyahu, who is leading a criminal war, conducting war crimes on a daily basis, and that is just unacceptable, and so I returned the money, right? Now look, I'm running against a senator who has told the voters that he's not taking corporate PAC money. But he is. The Globe and the Herald have reported on this. He's told voters he's promised not to take fossil fuel money. But he is. And now he's taking $62,000 from the Senate Victory Fund that's supposed to go to flipping Senate seats across the country in places like Michigan and Texas and Alaska. He's taking it to bail out his campaign. So I'm always going to be honest with voters and stand up for what I believe in. Go to my website. If you have any questions about my policies, read what's out there, because I've laid it out there. And I believe we absolutely, well, we've run out of time. So I want to get to the LGBTQ issues too.
Please.
So let me continue on this too. Look, my record on LGBTQIA rights is 100%. I have a 100% rating from the Human Rights Campaign. What I said in 2024 is that as Democrats, we need to be able to debate these issues as well. And I think that's right. Now, if there's anyone who I hurt by my comments, I'm sorry, because that was not my intention. My intention was simply to say, if we're just ceding this debate to Republicans, if we're only allowing them to come up with legislation, which I've always voted against, then what are we doing to actually fight forward for the very rights of the people that we claim to protect? I think that we've got to do that. And that's why, for example, I'm not sitting on the sidelines as Trump tries to take away option 3 from 988, my bill, my mental health bill, where he's trying to take away the option specifically designated for LGBTQ people, and I'm building a bipartisan coalition to fight it back. But that law is saving LGBTQ lives every single month, and that's the kind of work we need to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This next question is on the topic of immigration. Can you talk about how you will, if you will, address the issue of ICE violence? And stop it there.
So I was the first in this race to say that ICE needs to be abolished, but I was also the first Democrat, period, to say that they need to be prosecuted. You cannot enforce the law if you think you're above it. And if there's one lesson we should have learned from the first Trump administration, is we did not do enough as Democrats to hold them accountable, to prevent this from ever happening again. On top of that, I show up. I went to Minneapolis when that city was under siege from ICE. You can see, follow me on Instagram and social media, Facebook, if you're not already. You can see the videos that I posted from being on the ground there, standing in solidarity with amazing Americans willing to stand up, not just for immigrant communities, but for fundamental American values. And I also wanted to be prepared for that violence coming back to Massachusetts, and frighteningly, sadly, it visited my community of Newburyport just last night. So you need someone who is willing to go to Washington to fight, who is not going to let these Republicans get away with this stuff. I was an original co-sponsor of the articles of impeachment against Kristi Noem, but she's a great example of someone who also needs to be held accountable. We can't just let her ride off into the sunset. She needs to be held accountable.
Thank you, Seth. Those are all the questions we have time for. If folks feel comfortable giving Seth a round of applause, we are
Thank
going
you all
to
very much.
move
Thank you.
to the next forum. Alrighty, so up next, we're going to hear from candidates running for Governor's Council. And we have someone from Pioneer Valley Project who's going to be asking those questions.
Good evening, Tara. My name is Sister Melinda Pellerin. I'm the interim president of the Pioneer Valley Project and also a Catholic sister of St. Joseph. And so, as the last speaker, you have 2 minutes for your introduction. We would love to hear what you have to say to us tonight.
Is this already on, or do I have to turn it on? Hello?
I think it's on.
Well, hello, everyone. This is a fantastic turnout, and it's really exciting to see you all here today. I am Tara Jacobs. I am your governor's counselor. I'm in my second term on the governor's council, and I'm running for re-election for a third term. And before I talk about myself, I always start by talking about what is governor's council, because in my experience, this position, while one of the most important elected positions in the state, is one that no one has ever heard of. So it's a constitutional office. It actually is over 400 years old because it started in colonial times and was embedded into Massachusetts Constitution as an extra check and balance on the executive branch on very specific things. Primarily, the governor will nominate people to serve as judges on all of our courts, from district court up to Supreme Judicial Court. I'll try to talk faster. As well as clerk magistrates and parole board members and pardons and commutations. And so we are an advice and consent board. We don't generate our own work. We receive it from the governor and then we vote. And I wanted to do this work from the outset for the same reason I continue to serve on this board and ask for your vote. I was motivated by the racial disparities in our incarcerated populations and the systemic injustice embedded into Massachusetts justice system, and I wanted to be a voice at the table that makes powerful decisions that impact our justice system in an effort to shift those trends, and that's exactly how I do my job every day.
Thank you. Thank you. So my first question deals with transparency. How will you keep residents informed about your work on the Governor's Council and explain the reasoning behind your votes?
Okay. There's a couple things. First, if you're here and you're not following me on social media, please follow my Facebook page and my Instagram page. I post every time we're at the State House and Governor's Council chambers. I post hearings and assemblies that we're having to keep people informed. It's a struggle. I represented 850,000 people across 102 towns. There's 5 different major newspapers and 2 different NPRs that cover. So I do my best to keep the press alerted. I send letters to the editor every quarter, what am I doing and what's coming up. But it's a struggle. But I have strived to be as transparent as possible, which is saying a lot. And the reason people don't know what Governor's Council is it has never really been a very transparent body. And I do what I can to shift that, because I think justice belongs to us all and you deserve to know what we're doing. I see several faces that have come to my local hearings when we've had a local judicial nominee, and I always hold a local district confirmation hearing as another way to try to be transparent and engage people in the process.
Thank you. The next question deals with community representation, which is really important to the western half of the state. How will you ensure that the experiences of communities like Springfield are reflected in your decisions regarding judicial appointments?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I take that very seriously. And I see people in the room who've actually been with me at various organizational level events, things like Neighbor to Neighbor. Things like Springfield leaves, no one leaves. Things like, and honestly, I forget the name of some of these organizations, but groups that are advocating around things like domestic violence and sexual assault survivors, high conflict divorces, things like that. So I do my best to literally every day I'm out in my district somewhere connecting with community in Springfield and in the other 101 towns that I serve. And it's important for me, I'm probably about to run out of time, but it's important, no, I'm good, okay. It's important to me because it's a two-way communication. Like, I'm there to listen and learn, and I want to hear people's lived experiences, because when we have confirmation hearings, I use hypotheticals directly drawn from those stories, but also I want to involve people in the vetting process. Encourage the people you want to see judges to apply to be a judge, and I could go on, but I need to stop.
Thank you. So I think if the audience has questions on their index cards.
This is my index card because I didn't fill it out. I'm sorry. Recently, there was controversy about approving a prosecutor for, well, you know, the controversy. So me as a mental health professional, I wonder on the parole board how important it is to have more balance when it comes to who's making decisions about people getting out of jail. So can you just speak to that issue, please?
Absolutely. So you may have noticed in the news recently the governor brought 2 nominees forward for the parole board. Both have experience as prosecutors, and I voted no on them both. The first one, a majority of council voted no, and so that nominee was not confirmed. The second one, I was joined by one other counselor to vote no. And the reasons, they're honestly too complicated for a minute, but 30 seconds. Briefly, I believe diversity of experience is really important on any deciding body, and I look at the gaps, and what I see is missing is more experience with behavioral health, clinical psychology, rehabilitation, reentry. I'd love to see someone, and literally I had 2 different Western Mass candidates who have lived experience being incarcerated that I wanted to see nominated. And we don't need a prosecutor. The parole board work is not relitigating offenses. It's about transformation. I'm sorry, just finish this one sentence. It's about transformation and rehabilitation and assessing the risk and how much someone has grown.
Thank you. So for the audience, I just want to remind you, if you have written a question on an index card, all you have to do is hold that up and we'll come and we'll gladly collect that. So the next question, thank you. What have you done to increase racial equity on the bench?
Actually, as I walked in the door, someone who came to my very first district confirmation hearing reminded me that they were there for that. My very first nominee that I received from the Healy administration was a lifelong Springfield resident. Some of you may know Tracy Duncan. That's right. I will say this. My predecessor told her she would never be a judge and that the governor's council would never confirm her. She was unanimously confirmed to the bench. And I have heard nothing but glowing things about how smart, respectful, thorough, knowledgeable, and what an amazing addition to this Superior Court she has been. She was only the first of what has been an incredibly diverse additions to our Superior Court, to our Probate and Family Court, to our District Court, to our Juvenile Court, an influx of women and firsts. And I'm terrible at the soundbite.
I'm a retired public school teacher that usually can read almost anything, but I cannot. I'm going to start this. It says, what is being done to support, and I do not, Lindsay. Lindsay.
So I'm not sure. So first off, I'm not an attorney, FYI. My work is focused on doing the work of vetting the various nominees that come through and doing the work of extending that by reaching into community. I'm not sure what case we're talking about, and I can't speak to it. Are we talking about the mother that? Yes. Okay. So I've heard of the case, but just like you, I've read the articles, mostly read the headlines, and I really can't speak to it in any kind of. I'll never claim to know a thing I don't know, so I can't speak to that in any kind of very intelligent way.
Okay.
I'll just say it because I can't write it fast enough. Right now, Western Massachusetts has the most progressive housing court in the state, and we recently had a judge retire. What are your plans on candidates who have put their hands in the ring to make sure that we have an equitable court and our court continues to be equitable? Previously, there was a tenant judge who comes from Community Legal Aid, and we have a landlord. So what are you doing to ensure that we continue to have a somewhat progressive housing court?
So ultimately, the governor is the one empowered to decide who to nominate, and the role as a governor's counselor is to influence and persuade. And I will say this, so we had a recent retirement in the housing court. The housing court is a tiny court. It only has 16 judges altogether across the entire state. But I've been pushing that Western Mass specifically needs to have that seat filled here. And I've done that through advocacy, both with the governor and her legal office, who are responsible for shepherding the process, but also I've done that by connecting with the Chief Justice of Housing, who has confirmed for me that she also prioritizes not only a Western Mass, but a woman from Western Mass is what she'd really like to see, and I'd also very much like to see. Now, meanwhile, there's a bunch of applicants who are in a very grueling judicial vetting process before it ever makes it to the governor, let alone the governor's council. And those things that I might know about it, I'm not empowered to speak on. It's confidential until it becomes public.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the audience? Thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing before I say thank you? I love talking about Governor's Council, and I would love to come back at some point to have a more give and take discussion level opportunity. And so I hope to get to meet some people here today who want to help facilitate that, because we could talk about this all day, and it's much more complicated than a 1-minute answer. No, that's okay, I understand. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll vote to re-elect me to Governor's Council.
Good evening. Up next is the race for the United House of Representatives for Massachusetts. Obviously, the first candidate is Jeremy Whalen. Please welcome him.
How's it going, everybody? Should I jump right into it, Mama Thorpe? I apologize. I know we know each other we have a history
I'm
with
Angela
each other. So.
Thorpe, and I'm here as
Term of endearment.
I'm here as the second vice president of the NAACP. Next to me is.
I'm a member of the Springfield NAACP. My name is Charles Walker Hoover.
And the other candidate for this seat is Congressman Richard Neal, and he is not here. And Nadia Naylor, and she's not here.
Nadia.
Oh, I'm
Naylor.
sorry, Nadia. Lord, I am not the person for this right now. Welcome. Okay, so we have questions for you, as well as questions from the audience.
Opening statements first, please. We'll start with Nadia. Miss Nadia.
Can you guys hear me? ¿Pueden oírme? My name is Nadia Milleron, and I'm just so grateful to be here with you because every time we get together as a group, we can move issues, we can make things happen, we can gather our collective power. And so that's really what we're doing here together. So I am a mom of 4 kids, but one of my children died on a Boeing aircraft that was defective and fraudulently certified. And after that happened, I still didn't think that I needed to become politically active, but Boeing and the FAA, the government, wanted to put the plane back into service without fixing it. And so then I thought there could be a third crash, and then I would be partially responsible. So I went to Washington, and I was a leader of 346 families who lost loved ones on 2 planes. And we went to Congress and the House of Representatives and met with over 300 offices. We also went to the Senate side and worked with the DOJ to prosecute Boeing. And then I came back to Western Massachusetts and saw that Richard Neal, my congressman who didn't help me with that whole process, he was running unopposed. And I knew that at that point I had had enough experience on the Hill and with the process to run. And so I ran the first time and I got 133,000 votes. And now I'm running as an independent because the same old Democrats and Republicans are not serving us. And I have 3 legislative priorities. One is to stop federal income tax for income under $100,000. We need that money to live, and the federal government is using it for endless war. The second is to get insurance companies out of our health care because they do health denial, not health care. And if we pay for our health care, then we will save $600 billion nationally. And then I'll tell you the third in the process of the questions. Thank you.
Up next is Jeremy Whalen.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Charles. Thank you for everybody for being here. My name is Jeremy Whalen, and I grew up in Belchertown. I live in South Hadley with my beautiful wife, and my parents live up in Otis in the Berkshires. It's a big district, and all of that is in it. But for the last 11 years, I've been a high school teacher. And I had to go into the classroom after Trump was elected in 2016, and I had to stare my vulnerable students in the face. LGBTQ plus students, my black and brown students, my students of low socioeconomic circumstances. And I had to tell them that this is not how the world works and apologize to them. Well, flash forward to 2024, and we were in that same predicament right there. But this time, when I gave that pep talk, I was met with shrugs of shoulders because we've normalized all of this. And what have we normalized? We've normalized the fear and hate and racism and animosity and the absentee congressman who is getting nothing done in Washington and the corporations that allow that status quo to continue. So, how am I different? Platform, personality, and participation. On the platform side, we need a universal healthcare system in this country. We need to abolish ICE. And we need surtaxes on the ultra-wealthy. These things are what I call progressive is practical. On the personality side, a lot of you in this room know me. It's hard for me to put a collared shirt on because I am out there every single day knocking doors. In fact, I knocked Lila's door yesterday. Didn't even know it was hers. Exactly. Love you, girl. And then participation. I was saying this to Reverend Swan earlier. I've been on the campaign trail for a year. And the first communities to welcome me in with open arms were the black and brown communities of Springfield and Holyoke. And just as I've done all that work with you over the last year, what you're going to hear tonight is the stories of all of that work, that hard work being done. And that's how we're going to uplift each other, and that's how we're going to win this seat. So thank you for being here.
Okay, now we're going to ask questions to both of the candidates. First one is a federal investment question. What federal investments do you believe are most important for Springfield and Western Massachusetts, and how would you work to secure them if you were elected as a freshman congressman or congresswoman?
The first most important investment is in housing, because that's the biggest struggle. And there are a lot of opportunities. We actually have enough places for people to live. It's the matter of matching, making it affordable, and rehabilitating the buildings so that people can live there. So I would work with experts who are on the ground, who have been working at this for years, to bring that to fruition. And we need a federal medical manufacturing zone to create our own generic drugs and products that hospitals need. We need to manufacture that here, and we can get federal funding and incentives and investment to do that. And then that would help our economies by raising the wage, because those are good jobs, and it would also create packaging jobs and like that. So those would be my two priorities, but there's lots of opportunity to support agencies in our district who are applying for those funds. And I wouldn't wait for them, I would be proactive. Thank you.
All right. Do you need me to restate the question?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
A federal investment question. What federal investments do you believe are most important for Springfield and Western Massachusetts, and how would you work to secure them as a freshman congressman?
I think that we need to attack this from two parts. One, think about new growth in business and development. That helps us all. And we also need to stave off the bleeding. And when I say that, what I think about is the crisis we're in on food insecurity, what my friend Liz Ogilvie over at Gardening the Community, who's on a hunger strike right now, calls food poverty. And 40% of Massachusetts finds themselves in a household with food poverty. We need to do a better job at that. 54% in Hampden County, right here in our own backyard. So we need to expand SNAP benefits and get food in the mouths and the bellies of children and everybody in our community. I also think about the intersection of healthcare, universal healthcare I talked about, the wonderful things that we can do when we take corporate greed and bloat out, not just for physical well-being, but I think of MOCA and Brother Al and Lamont and all the hard work that's going on over here. We have to think about the totality of health here. I also think about Chanel Ford, who's doing wonderful work on black maternal health care. The things that we need right now that are affecting our black and brown communities are the things that we need to stop the bleeding on.
Thank you, Jeremy. My question is about the economy. Although you did touch on it a little bit, I'm going to ask this specific question. What federal policies would you support to strengthen the local economy and help working families manage the rising cost of living? We'll go in the same order.
So thank you for the question. If we get a healthcare trust to just pay directly for our healthcare, we will help our local economy tremendously, because people won't have to pay for their health insurance, so that's like they get a bonus. And then also municipalities won't have to pay for the healthcare of their employees, school districts won't have to, businesses won't have to. And in addition, my primary platform is to have no federal income tax for income under $100,000. So that puts a lot of money in people's pockets, and the federal government is spending it for endless war, so they're not spending it well. And so it would be better for it to be in our households and in our communities. So both of those things would tremendously boost our economy.
Thank you, Lydia. Jeremy?
So this question came up at the South Congregational Church and Maura Healy Forum, and what I see is new growth that happens, one, by, like I said, stop the bleeding. Housing is really a critical issue. When we think about housing, I think about Springfield No One Leaves and the tremendous work that they're doing. Rent control and rent stabilization, right there. The Springfield City Council had a non-binding resolution in overwhelming support of that. That's how you can alleviate some of the costs on the back end, and on we need to rein in Eversource and other individuals on the utility front. I also think that we can do a better job at providing opportunities for small local businesses. What Carlos Gonzalez talks about, the micro business, it's not just those businesses under 500 individuals, it's the business of 5, the people that are going to the farms, to the farmers market and the vendor fairs and selling all of that. So uplift those individuals within the business community, and also get people the resources that they need.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next, we have questions. Next, we have questions from the audience, and we'll alternate. Since you started first the last time, we'll let Jeremy start first this time.
All right. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay. So one of the questions is about climate change. So Massachusetts and CD1 is full of climate voters. What is your position on environmental policy?
I think we need a stronger stance on dealing with climate change, the Green New Deal. I'm looking at Vern and the awesome work that goes on with Climate Action Now in the room, combating things. Adam Gomez just put a stop to biomass in Springfield. We need to expand this on the state and national level, and that comes with federal regulations and guidelines. Another one is make polluters pay. I mean, you look at what's going on in the Connecticut River, and the pollution of the Connecticut River. There's corporations from here to the Housatonic that came in, pillaged our resources, and left at the hands of their shareholders. And we need to hold them accountable for the damage and pollution that they've done to our communities. And so those are the two things that stick out, both the make polluters pay and bring in federal dollars as a result of the punitive damages that they've done, and just thinking more on what the actual impact of this pollution is, too. Springfield was the asthma capital of the world. We're a little bit less now, but that is disproportionately impacting our black and brown communities as well. So we need to do a better job at reining in corporations that are polluting our lakes and rivers and streams.
Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you, Jeremy.
The same question?
Same, if you would like, yes.
Sure. So we need to have renewable energy and incentives to have more solar energy on our houses and our places of business. And Trump eliminated that, basically, eliminated those incentives. So Congress can take control back over that and make sure that people have incentives to produce the energy at their place, and they could have an electric car. Our farm was able to get in under that bar, and so we pay for all of the energy that it takes me to drive all over the district with solar. And everybody should still have that option, and it would help out also with households financially. And then in addition to that, we need to really watch out for what is happening with the production of pollution, because my son is a maritime professional. I went with him up to the Arctic and saw the flooding that will occur.
Thank you.
A lot of questions here.
A lot of questions, a lot of answers.
Yeah, a lot of questions. Okay. How do you stop the corporate takeover of America and return it to the real people? Let's start with you, Jeremy.
Ooh, this is a good one. Prepare. You stave off the corporate greed by not taking money from the corporations. Percentage-wise, our current congressman is one of the top recipients of corporate money in all of Congress. Let that sink in. Why can't we have Medicare for all? It's because he takes hundreds of thousands of dollars from the healthcare lobbyists and pharmaceutical industry. United Health, Pfizer. And then we are told that we can't cap our prescription drugs. Why do we have such high utility rates? Well, tens of thousands of dollars coming into Eversource. I was out there at the protest right outside the Eversource Center over there. But you won't hear that from the congressman. Why don't we have rent control or housing affordability? Well, the world's largest landlord, Blackstone, gives that man money. And that money goes to luxury goods like VIP box seats at baseball games and a $1.2 million Cape House that's 25 minutes away from the Chatham Bar Inns that he spends luxury money at.
Thank you.
Nadia.
I'm a lawyer, and so I understand that corporate charters determine how corporations are responsible and how they behave. And Congress can be in charge of changing corporate charters federally. And so, for example, Boeing only has a responsibility to their shareholders. So they can actually risk people's lives, and as long as they're accountable to their shareholders, that's all good. But you can change a corporate charter federally through Congress and through my efforts to make the corporation responsible to the community and to the community of people that buy their product. And that is a massive change, and you can see that in the opioid epidemic and the resolution of that. So that was one of the all of those attorney generals, they made those opioid production companies to change their corporate charter, so now they have a responsibility to the patients that take those medicines.
Time's up. So now I have a question on your stance with women's right to choose, and in addition to that, Black mothers have a very high rate of mortality in Springfield and Holyoke, frankly the country. So how will you help to ensure safe prenatal care for a woman choosing to continue the pregnancy, support during the pregnancy, and after the birth, especially during the postpartum period? We could start with you, Mrs. Nadia.
Okay. So having a healthcare trust where everybody is covered and the country saves billions of dollars would cover everybody. And so all of those services that you mentioned are healthcare. And we have to deal with the oppression that is not spoken about for women and children. Because when a person comes to make decisions about their pregnancy and their health care, it's an economic decision. And it's an oppression by the society. And they may also not have the emotional support that they need. And so making sure that mental health is all covered for every single person and all the physical care is covered is essential. And it would happen with a healthcare trust and with paying directly for the healthcare. Now, many businesses are starting to do this because they actually save money not paying the insurance company and just putting a pool of money and paying directly for their employees' healthcare. So it's not a new idea, and it's something that can really help.
I think I got it. When I think about this, I think about the amazing work, I mentioned Chanel Ford, and the elegant and eloquent Helen Coulter Harris. And right here in Springfield, we have an amazing health department that is proactive about absolutely. Take some time to clap right there. The amazing work that's being done to curb what's going on the federal government and get the protections that particularly Black mothers need. We're talking about this significant increase in infant mortality for our Black mothers here. We need to enshrine Roe v. Wade. The idea that I'm saying that is atrocious. We need to be fighting for healthcare on many different fronts, but it also comes down to I think about the omnibus bill and expanding services not only to prenatal care and opening access to wonderful organizations like Planned Parenthood that are under attack right now. And they are taking the rights away from women rather than expanding them. We do a great job here with SHIELD laws, but we need to do a hell of a lot more on the national level.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Lydia. Acknowledging that the lack of true affordable housing is indisputable, is an indisputable crisis, would you support modifying zoning laws to allow homes with smaller footprints to be built which could offer more accessibility to low-income, fixed income, and those transitioning from homelessness with a lessened environmental impact as a bonus. We are going to start with you, Lydia.
Yes, I would support that, but it is a local control issue. And so, but to the extent that we could accommodate on a federal level with funding or other supportive resources to have more housing in any fashion for desperate people who need it right now, yesterday, last year, 2 years ago, you know, we need to push forward any initiative to help people be housed. But a lot of the issues that you were mentioning are in local control.
Thank you. Jeremy?
I think that when we talk about local control, we can talk about connecting this municipal, state, and federal level in a really meaningful way. And that's why you see me getting endorsements on the municipal front, because I want to connect that hard work that's being done. When we talk about housing and urban development money, we got to connect that to more HEALY initiatives on affordable housing. We also need to connect that to planning and zoning rehauls, sometimes that haven't been touched in 20, 30, 40 years. And so that work's important, but we also have an opportunity to talk about rent control. We can build, and we should build, but we need to be thinking about ways in which we can give immediate relief right now. We mentioned the work right now of Springfield No One Leaves. I also have conversations with phenomenal people over the East Hampton Tenants Union. We need to come together. We need to be proactive about combating landlords that come in or corporations that gobble up a whole bunch of properties and then jack up your rents without doing any upgrades or repairs. So we need to build more, we need to rehaul zoning, and we can do that together by connecting the municipal, state, and federal level.
Thank you both. All right, our next question is about the Democratic Socialists. The next Congress is posed to have the highest number of open Democratic Socialists in the United States House. None of the candidates in this race identify as Democratic Socialists and are not endorsed by the DSA. My question is, if elected, what would your relationship be with DSA representatives, and how would you support policies such as a $25 minimum wage, Medicare for all, and arms embargo on Israel?
Oh, you got to throw in those policy at the end with the 2 minutes?
We can start with you.
Yeah, can you say the last three, and then I'm going to answer the DSA question.
Yes, the last three were minimum wage, Medicare for all, and an arms embargo on Israel.
Increase the minimum wage to a living wage. MIT has a calculator. Right now, the minimum wage in Massachusetts is $15. For our area, it should be $24.50. Universal health care, we've already covered that. Strip funding to Gaza. There is a genocide that is taking place before our eyes. The other thing that I will say is I have not sought the endorsement of DSA. I have a lot of friends in DSA. We have a lot of overlap there. And I'm proud to stand beside them. And at the same time, what we're creating here is a community. It's a community of people in Massachusetts District 1 that's not beholden to parties. I'm going to put the Democratic Party in there too, because we are all coming together in a very significant way that, quite frankly, politics hasn't seen. And I'm proud to sit here and stand beside people, regardless if they call themselves a member of the DSA or the Communist Party, or whatever labels that the right wants to throw at us. And I'm going to throw into people that are on the conservative side, too. They can join our movement
Time's
as
up.
well. Getting fiery, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You, Miss Nadia,
Sure, so
would you like the question again?
I think I can remember it. So I'm a nonpartisan person, and I work with everybody towards the goals that will benefit all of our lives, including DSA or anybody else, and I have been doing that. So, for example, there was a delegation from Western Mass that went into Schumer's office when he was not putting forth the Social Security Fairness Act that was going to pass, and he just didn't want to bring it for a vote. And that's their technique. They just don't bring popular bills for a vote. And that's where we can all work together and exert that pressure to make those votes happen, and then they can't really avoid it because all of their constituents are for health care for everyone, for stopping the war in Israel not funding Israel at all, and 4, what was the third one?
It was Medicare for all?
Yeah,
Or
no,
the minimum wage,
healthcare
too.
for all. Minimum wage, I don't pay less than $30 an hour in my campaign. It takes $30 an hour to live.
Thank you. We've heard many, many stories, horror stories, about the flock cameras. What are your plans? We're going to start with you, Lydia, and then go to Jeremy.
So flock is surveillance, and surveillance is getting more and more pervasive, and this is where we look at Gaza, the West Bank, and Palestine, and we see that the surveillance that's being developed there on a stateless population that cannot go to court, they have no redress to deal with the situation, and those companies like Palantir have the data from exerting their surveillance. Gaza is the most surveilled place on earth, and they use that data and they come here and they surveil us. And so that's why it's really important to connect the dots and to oppose the flock and all of this kind of surveillance and to educate yourself. You're being surveilled in unbelievable ways that you wouldn't even guess. And so it's really important for you to spend some time away from your phone, having just, conversations in the air with your friends.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Jeremy.
I was just having this conversation with a city councilor friend in Agawam. They're going through this. That's going through in North Adams. We got to connect the dots on all the municipal, state, and federal level, because on the ordinance side, we can take care of a lot of that, and we should be doing that immediately right here. The conversation on the podcast that the councilor was on said, get the flock out. And that's exactly what we need to do. We've seen the consequences of the Patriot Act and giving up our rights and our privacy, and we are suffering the consequences as a result. So we need to push back against that. What Flocking is doing, by the way, is it's a private company that's coming in and saying, oh, this is a grant. We're going to give you these cameras for free. Well, guess what? When you get something free, you're the product. And so when you have a situation where you have individuals that are collecting data on you that you don't even know, it's not just your license plate, ladies and gentlemen. That can be a bumper sticker or people in your car, and you can be tracked. And so we need to push up against that and the corporate greed that allows that system and software to take place.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, we have a question about the Department of Education. Will you speak up and speak out when the president denies the rights of education in the public schools? This could be for you first, Mr. Jeremy.
Linda McMahon, the head of the Department of Education, called artificial intelligence A1, all right? I just finished up my doctorate in mathematics, science, and learning technologies, and I didn't need that to know that it's not A1, all right? So we're sitting here and dismantling the Department of Education. What we need to do is think about the totality of the child. Universal pre-K services, paying teachers and paraprofessionals and educators more. I was standing out at square one with a whole bunch of wonderful individuals fighting for union contracts over there, and tuition-free community college and vocational training. And it begs the question, how do you pay for it all? You tax the heck out of millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires to do so.
We have to support people to have employment and vocations that are practical and that are really available in our communities. So we have to, the federal government can help us with funding to connect the dots so that people are learning to develop in ways which are really going to be productive for their future, the person who's studying, and also the community. And so I think that the Department of Education, which is the federal arm, they support people that need extra help in schools, and that's something that shouldn't be denied, that has been defunded. So I would work to restore that, and also to make sure that people are getting the training that they need. I do hire people all the time, and they are trained, they go to school, but they don't necessarily have practical skills, and they don't have skills about how to behave in a work environment. And so I think we definitely, as federal government, need to support that.
Thank you, Nadia. This question is specifically for you, Nadia, but we certainly will give you the opportunity to answer as well, Jeremy. Manufacturing is based on supply chains. A manufacturing zone is good, but if labor is cheaper elsewhere and chairs exit elsewhere already, what is the incentive for companies to move their manufacturing here?
Okay, so that's where tariffs are a tool. So they are a tool that has not been used well in this administration so far, but this is something that my husband's been working on for his entire career. So what you do is you make the financially a bigger incentive to come here because you're going to be too expensive to produce the product abroad because you're going to have to deal with the tariff. But if you produce the product here, then you don't have any tariff, you don't have any tax. And so that's what we want to do, is reshore manufacturing, especially starting with the goods that are essential for us to have and that we had supply chain issues around. So that would be generic pharmaceuticals that are manufactured in a dangerous way in India and China just because they don't have enough oversight to the quality of the product, and also the important products that hospitals need to function. And so we would start there, and our district, the bar for creating generic goods is, or medicine is pretty low. To create a pill is not as high, creating the manufacturing process as a machine. And so it's something that we could do.
Thank you, Nadia. Jeremy?
A tool is only as good as the person using it. And the person using the tools right now has a few screws loose themselves. So when I hear about Trump and tariffs, I don't trust anything that comes out, because when you implement tariffs, you need to take time to build up the infrastructure in order to ease those jobs back in. We have that giant board, and it looks, I don't know what it's out of, but has a whole bunch of different countries and a whole bunch of different numbers, and any day, whoever ticks him off, that number is gonna change. That's not how you implement tariffs, and I don't trust the current administration to do so. What that does is send the economy into a roller coaster spiral where people can't buy the goods that they need, and they can't employ the people that they need, and we're just doing things willy-nilly. So I am not in favor of tariffs in the current rendition of what we're seeing, and if we were ever going to have those conversations, we have to have a 5, 10, or 15-year plan. What I'm more concerned about is bringing advanced manufacturing jobs back, thinking about our skilled labor force in western and central Massachusetts, because we need to bring that new growth right here.
Thank you. Okay, my final question for both candidates. What is your opinion, and to give you a little bit of background, since 2024, the Massachusetts Department of Transportation has been doing a Springfield area track reconfiguration project for the rail. So what is your opinion on east-west rail, more importantly, north to south rail, and ideally, the east to west rail is Albany to Western Mass to Boston, and the north to south is Western Mass to NYC. So what is your opinion on that?
Can you factor that compass for me, Charles, right there? That was north, south, east, west. We've been talking about west-east rail since I was in diapers. And we've been throwing a heck of a lot of money at something, and we haven't seen the leadership to actually get it through. In fact, what we've seen is the built new train station that's a quarter mile from the downtown economic hub of Springfield. How does that make sense? Make it make sense. And so when we think about West-East Rail, it's not just bringing money in or south or north-south. It's about following through, making sure you're talking to the stakeholders, making sure that we're putting stops in the right place. We're talking about Springfield, but we're also talking about places and stops like Palmer. And so we have to develop that. We also have to develop that in high speed. The senator to-be was talking about thinking of, damn, I lost my track because I just called Seth Moulton the senator to be. I take that one back. You can erase that from it. But the congressman was talking about that. And I think that what we need to do is we need to really think critically about the leadership that goes into the investments that we're doing and connect all the dots in a meaningful way.
Thank you for summing that up.
I'm in favor of east-west, north-south, all kinds of high-speed rail, and we need to collect money that is simply unpaid illegally from multi-million-dollar corporations to the IRS, because then we can afford all these things, and we don't have to skimp. You know, if you invest in the IRS, so this is the purview of Richard Neal, who's a ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee. He doesn't fund the IRS. If you fund them fully, you will collect $10 for every $1 that you put into the IRS. And that would fully fund all of this infrastructure projects, including high-speed rail. So we need to have people in Congress who understand the funding mechanisms, understand how we can get the money and then get the money to the district, and not keep saying we can't afford it, and underfunding projects like has been done.
Thank you, Nadia. I have one more question. Where's the drum roll? This one's pretty straightforward. They all have been, actually. It's your opinion. What is your opinion on term limits? Now, last time I went with you, and so we'll go with you. Okay, we'll go ladies first.
Sure, so I would impose term limits on myself, just 3 terms, that's 6 years. And I think if you can't get something done in that time, then you should leave and make way for the next person. And there is a mechanism to have term limits in the House of Representatives through the Rules Committee, through the rules of the House. So, for example, the House makes both me and Jeremy, any representative candidate, we have to report all of our financial transactions, and there's a whole bunch of ethical forms that we have to fill out. And so they can also change the rules to make it a limited term.
Thank you. Time's up. Okay, Jeremy, last.
So let's put this into perspective. The current congressman has been there for 37 years, and I'm 39 years old. And I'm no spring chicken. We got individuals working on this campaign that are 19, 20 years old, and I can't stare them in the eyes and say that I know truly the issues and concerns that they have, because when we talk about bridging the generations, as we do in this campaign, you have to be in tune with what's going on. But when you're 77 years old and may have paid $50,000 for your house, meanwhile the average price is $450 now, you lose track of what's going on, especially when you don't show up. So term limits, absolute no-brainer. We're talking about, I would say the sweet spot is about 12 years. I'm a high school teacher. It took me about 4 years to get comfortable. I think that 12 years is a generation that you can get a lot accomplished and get the job done.
Thank you for summing that up. Thank you both for coming this evening, and thank you to the audience for their wonderful questions.
I just want to say, too, thank you to everybody for hosting this. This has been an amazing time, and I'm going to be staying around until the last person leaves to answer any questions that we didn't get to. So thank you.
Likewise, thank you. I'll be here.
I did have one thing to say, too. September 1st, and if you have a central job, mail-in ballot, please get your mail-in ballot filled out soon, because if you don't get it filled out soon, then it's going to be too late, and you'll have to go in person September 1st. So please come out.
I'm not in the Democratic Party, so
November
I'm not going
3rd,
to be.
yep,
Yeah, it's
the
November 3rd
general
for
one.
me.
All right. If I can get you all's attention, please. That seems like that was a lot of excitement. So I want to ask those who are running for the Hampden District State Representative to please come to the stage. We have Ms. Nicole Coakley, Mr. Donnie Wright, I believe Mr. Johnny McKnight, he's 5 minutes away, and Representative Bud Williams will not be here tonight. So we'll ask you all to come. Please take your seats. Could I please have you all to quiet down? We want to be respectful of our candidates. And each of you will get 2 minutes for your opening statement. We'll start with you, Nicole.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Nicole Coakley. I was born here in the city of Springfield, raised in Charleston, South Carolina. I am a mother of 5. I love my children, and everything I do is for them. I have my associates in law enforcement, my bachelor's in human service, my master's in psychology and counseling, and guess what? Next week, Thursday, I'll be doing my oral defense. I'll have my doctorate in business administration. So my dissertation is on women of color in political leadership and the effects of work-life balance. So it will be something that you all can attend, so follow my page because I have it on there, attend the Zoom link, and just watch me defend that dissertation. And again, I'm running because we need change here in the city of Springfield, and I am somebody that's bringing that change here to the city of Springfield. I am somebody that showed up every day, all day, whenever I was needed. I didn't just show up whenever it's election season. When people call me, when they say, Nicole, let's do this event, I need to make this initiative happen, I showed up and I made it happen. I am not knocking on doors just because it's election season. I am not telling you I need your vote just because it's election season. I'm telling you that if we want to be a better Springfield and we want to be united and make things happen and make sure resources and funding are coming into our community so our children, our seniors, our homeowners, our renters are being taken care of and things are getting done, we need new leadership, and that would be Nicole Denise Coakley.
Mr. Wright, we'll take your 2 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Donnell Wright, and I was also born here, but I grew up here. As a matter of fact, I grew up right on the next street, and I worked here at the Dunbar Community Center as the maintenance man for approximately 5 years, when Frank Hatchett was here, when Big Will was here. My mother was a business owner. She was the first African-American woman in this city to run a federally funded program called NCBA, the National Caucus on Black Aged. She had about 15 vans, and she had several individuals that worked for her, all minorities, down in the North End. And at that time, I was a Springfield city bus driver. I drove State and Boston Road. One of the things about me is I had a very difficult life. My mother and father were divorced when I was 7 years old, and I was a latchkey kid, and I got in a lot of trouble. I was one of the first school-to-prison pipeline kids. That's right. But today, I'm running for state representative. I'm here to tell you that I am the blueprint. I've been through the drugs. I've been through the gangs. I've been through the homelessness. I've been through the evictions. I've been through the joblessness. And through the grace of God, He has brought me through all of that because my mother always told me to keep your eyes on the Lord. And I'm telling you right now that my life is a blueprint for young people because I've overcome many of the difficulties that they're going to be facing in their lives. I've started programs at colleges in Worcester, Massachusetts. I graduated from Boston University with a degree in the philosophy of religion and social justice. I also have a degree in business. I'm also a former real estate agent, so I know all about housing. And I want to thank you all for being here today. We know that Springfield has problems. I'm also the CEO of the Intervision Empowerment and Consulting Center, and I am the only individual that has had an anti-gun violence march in the city of Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, just in time, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Oh, okay. One, I just want to apologize for being tardy. We are Yeah, I am here. You know, we just started school, and it was our back to school barbecue for the kids. So my apologies for being tardy. Usually try to get here on time. I want to just say, my name is Johnny McKnight. I'm running for state representative in the 11th Hampton District. And I wanted to start it off a little bit different because I know what it takes to put yourself out there and ask people to support you and vote for you. And it's not an easy task. So I want to take my hat off to Donnie and Nicole for, coming out and, putting their hat in the race because it's not easy. It's a hard thing to do. So let's give them a round of applause, y'all. This is one of the hardest things that anybody has done. We're going against Goliath. We're going against Goliath, and it's not an easy task. But we have to come together at some point in time. We have to. It's so easy to divide, right? But it's strength when we unite. And we have to unite. We're not up here competing with one another. We're competing against Bud Williams because we know he is the problem. We need to get him out. We need better representation in our communities for our schools, for our elderly, for our young people. We need to do better for them. So tonight, happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to be here, and thank you.
Thank you so much. So our first question, and actually we will start with you, Johnny, and then we'll do Nicole, and then we'll do Donnie. Springfield families continue to face rising costs for housing, food, childcare, and utilities. If elected, what are your top 3 legislative priorities to make life more affordable?
I would have to say housing, the current state of where we're at with utilities and childcare. Being a parent myself, I know that it's hard to even get childcare, one, but paying for childcare is so expensive. Our electric prices are going through the roof, and we don't have anyone standing up for us. And the housing. Housing is a really big issue in our Commonwealth, but also in the 11th Hampton District. Because I don't know if my children one day are going to be able to afford a house. Because every single year, the prices keep on doubling. And we're going to get to a point where it's out of reach for our children. And we can't live in a society where we don't have the basic needs of housing.
Thank you, Nicole.
Hi, yes, thank you for the question. For me, it's definitely affordability here in the city of Springfield, especially when it comes to housing, because right now, someone that's been living in her house, where I live right now, over 10 years, going from a $950 rent to $1,500 to now, as of August 1st, $2,200. How can I afford that? I'm still making the same amount of money. I'm still trying to take care of my kids. I'm still trying to go to school, and I'm still trying to serve my community. That's not affordability. And when we have a state legislator that's not doing their job and not making sure that the money that's on Beacon Hill is coming into our community and back into the pockets of the working families, that's an issue. And you can't tell me that what you haven't done in 20 years, you're gonna get done in 2 years. It's time for you to move out the way. Again, we have to look at helping our women and our children. We have to think about the workforce development. We have to think about their education. We have to think about how do we set them up for success. That is very important to me. When we look at the economic stability here, that's important. Again, we have to think about the mental health crisis. We can't leave things out because it doesn't affect our family, because you never know when it's going to be your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Can I please ask you to repeat the question?
Yes. Springfield families continue to face rising costs for housing, food, childcare, and utilities. If elected, What are your top 3 legislative priorities to make life more affordable?
The first thing that I would do, and thank you, as a former realtor, I understand that it's about supply. The reason why housing is so high is because Springfield is small, the population is growing, and there isn't enough housing. It's simplistic, but it's a difficult situation. So the way out of that is to build more housing. And I think Governor Maura Healey is trying to do that right now. As you see, this week, we've had several buildings open up with apartments. That is the way out of the housing crisis. Someone mentioned earlier about having our properties, people to be able to have low-income apartments maybe, or build a tiny home in their backyard. You know, we don't have a lot of space. We don't have a lot of land, so we have to be innovative. Maybe we have to build up. You know, but the bottom line is it's supply and demand. If you increase supply, then the prices of housing will start to go down. The other thing that we need to do is increase first-time home buyer grants. And once we do those particular types of things, we'll be able to deal with the type of housing issues that we're facing in this community.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll start with you, Donnie, then Nicole, and then Johnny. What specific actions would you support to strengthen Springfield Public Schools and improve opportunities to keep young people in the local workforce?
Okay. Thank you for letting me stand. The first thing I would do is I would expand Chapter 70 grants. I would also lower the class size because we need more attention, our teachers, to give our students more individual attention, and also work on raising the salary of our teachers. That's one of the big things that we need to do here. If we're so serious about education, why won't we pay the teachers, right? So the thing that I'm saying here is that our students, once they get out of high school, okay, I've been there. We had Section 30. Back then, when I was coming up, the federal government gave businesses tax credits. So when you got out of school, you were able to get a job with a local company, and that company would get tax breaks, and then you would get paid to learn, because artificial intelligence is coming. A lot of these young people that are going to be graduating from college, they're not going to be able to find a job. So we need people who can do things with their hands, jobs that can't be taken by artificial intelligence, and we're going to do that, be funding more opportunities for young people.
Thank you so much, Nicole. You need me to repeat the question? Are you good? What specific actions would you support to strengthen Springfield Public Schools and improve opportunities to keep young people in the local workforce?
Yes, for me, I would definitely improve the funding that's coming into our schools. I am a parent of children that went to a charter school, so I am in support of all schools when we talk about schools. We can't just leave a school out just because they're not in just a public school. All are important because they're all teaching our children. So we have to make sure that the funding trickles down into these school systems. Also, when you look at the transportation services, a child should not have to walk 2 miles to get to school. That is not reasonable. When I tell you I drive down the road during the winter storms picking up kids, like, you gotta walk from Bristol Street all the way to Commerce, this is crazy. I see why y'all dropping out. I'll drop out too. But we got to figure out, how do we make this money work for us and our children? We look at the workforce development. We don't wanna just say we're gonna train you. We wanna train you for sustainable jobs. It's gonna help you stay there and make the money you need to learn how to take care of your family. We have to do our part in order for these youth within our community to do their part.
Thank you.
You know, being an educator, I know firsthand about this question. One of the things that we struggle in Springfield is modernizing our buildings. We have to fix the air conditions in our buildings and fix, it's a lot of things that we have to do to really make our schools up to the modern schools that the new builds see. Also, we need to look at the whole child, and that goes back to looking at, I would say, the mental health crisis that we're dealing with our young people. We're dealing with it with their internet use, right? And their phone use. We really have to start looking at that. There's some bills in the legislature right now that is addressing those issues, but we have to really focus on those things because we are losing our young people through social media and their phones. So we have to really focus on mental health as well. And also, I would say—
Thank you. Thank you so much. This next question is, how would you ensure that Springfield receives its fair share of state funding for transportation, housing, public safety, and neighborhood development? We'll start with you, Nicole, then we'll do Johnny, and then we'll come back to you, Donnie.
I mean, a start is for getting us a new state representative, which is Nicole Coakley. We need somebody that's not afraid to speak when they go to Beacon Hill. We need somebody that's not afraid to advocate for the needs of our community. We need somebody that comes from lived experience and not somebody that's bought. We need somebody that understands this is not okay. So we have to make sure that we put somebody in place that understands the needs of our community. Don't vote for somebody just because I went to school with you. No, you ain't ready for this position. Don't vote for somebody just because I knew your mama. No, you ain't ready for this position. Vote for somebody that's been around, is around, and will stay around.
How would you ensure that Springfield receives its fair share of state funding for transportation, housing, public safety, and neighborhood development?
Yeah, I think it's about building coalitions, right? I've been able to be supported by the MTA and the Working Families Party and an array of unions that support me. And it's about building those coalitions and going to the State House with power, of saying that we're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to fight you tooth and nail so Springfield gets their fair share. And that's what we really need to do. We need to go down to Boston and make sure that they know that we have real representation with real people backing them. Right now, we don't have that representation in Boston. We have a state representative that had 4 committees assigned to him 2 years ago, now down to 1. We need someone that can hit the reset button and really take, I would say, oh man.
Thank you.
It's been a long day. Y'all gotta excuse me.
Thank you so much. Don't worry, there are plenty more questions, so.
It's fine.
Do you need me to?
No, I'm good, thank you. We would do it by community block grants and by community preservation revitalization grants. I've been going back and forth to Boston for the last 13 years, working with the ECOU and working with the legislature up there on a myriad of things. And the bottom line is that maybe about 2 years ago, working with the GBIO, which is the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization, I was able to be utilized along with my team to get $1.9 million for the Office of Returning Citizens. Many of you may have seen that video on social media. And the bottom line is this is about being able to articulate a message. And when you're able to articulate a message and you're carrying that message from Western Massachusetts, and as you know, up in Boston, they're not really thinking about us, but they need someone that can go up there and demand and let them know, like I let them know, we need this $1.9 million because you got individuals coming out from incarceration, they can't get a job, they can't get housing, and violence is increasing. Thank you.
Before we take questions from the floor, I have one other question for you all. How will you regularly engage residents in your decision-making beyond election season, and what will accountability look like? So Johnny, we'll start with you, and then we'll do Donnie, and then we'll do Nicole.
Yeah, I had committed myself to making sure that we have an office in the district. Also, things like this, right? Having forums and having community meetings regularly. I think that's how we stay accountable as legislators. So many times, I mean, the last time I was here, Bud Williams wasn't here. This time, Bud Williams wasn't here. He's not accountable, and we've been letting him just, go on as business as usual. And we need to say, no, you need to be accountable to the people. He doesn't have an office in the district, and we need an office in the district so people can come with their issues so we can work them out. And also, we need public forums like this on the regular, and we need to talk to the stakeholders too in our community. So those are some of the things that I would like to do as state representative. Please hold me accountable because I work for you, right? I'm here for you. I'm here to bring back resources to our community. So as state representative, that's what I would like to do.
Thank you.
Could you please repeat the question?
How will you regularly engage residents in your decision-making beyond election season, and what will accountability look like?
By doing exactly what I've been doing the last 13 years. As I mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Intervision Empowerment and Consulting Center located at 946 State Street. We opened up that business in conjunction with Monty's Unisex Barbershop and Salon with our own money. Nobody gave us nothing. They didn't give us no city money, no state money, no ARPA money, no nothing. I worked in that place on my hands and knees for 6 months to get it ready for the community. Why? And I don't even make any money from that. I work for the state. I'm a social worker. I'm a public servant. But I did it for the community. And I spend my own money putting on events. I spend my own money going out to the senior citizen centers, singing with my 2 little puppies. You know, I put the work into this community by mowing grass, teaching young people like that, my man over there, Eric, teaching them how skills, landscaping skills, painting skills, plumbing skills, electrical skills. I take young men under my wing, young women under my wing. The Department of Children and Families and DCF sends me people. I pay for their tuxedos when they go to the prom. I've been out here in these streets for 13 years helping the young to the old, and I'm continuing to do that as state representative.
Thank you. Nicole?
Thank you for the question. I mean, for me, I vow to continue to hold myself accountable and always be accessible to my community. A lot of people say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and when you reach out to them, they don't do it. You can't even get through to them. They're too busy to make it happen. So holding all of these candidate forums are important, holding all of these events where we're having questions and answers, but there's no follow-up. A lot of people focus on gun violence. When we talk about gun violence, it ain't the gun that's the problem, it's the mental of the individual. We got to have answers, so we don't want to just sit and talk about it. We want to be about it, and when we are about it, that means we're united because we're gonna make it happen together. I don't have all the answers. I can't do it by myself, but with you all, we're gonna make it happen, and we're gonna change the way things are being done in the city of Springfield. So making sure that I am accessible and holding myself accountable is what I will do as state representative.
Thank you. So thank you all for those questions. We have a table full of questions from the audience that we will not get an opportunity to go through each one of these questions. And they keep coming. So I want to encourage the audience to please make sure that you ask the candidates the questions if you do not hear your question, because again, we have a table full. But let's start with this one. Besides election season, what have you done to stay actively involved with our seniors, youth, and the broader community, and how have those efforts prepared you to be state rep? So we'll start with you, Nicole, and then we'll go to Donnie, and then we'll go to John.
Okay, yeah, so I have definitely stayed active. A lot of people know this name, Nicole Coakley. I've done so much within the city of Springfield. I have helped so many individuals that when I run into them, they're just like, you remember I had the house fire and you helped me get all these stuff for my house? And I'm just like, I did? Oh, I just knew you needed help, baby, so I had to show up for you. Because I do what needs to be done, because if I am in that situation, I want somebody to help me. So being able to keep these things going and flowing and letting people know that I am the real deal is important to me. When we look at our seniors, I do things for our seniors. I held a food drive because we needed food within our community. We didn't have that. A lot of people were losing their SNAP benefits. When people reach out to me and say, I need help to fill out this health application, why, you don't got your mess out? Let me show you how to do this. I'll meet you there. We need individuals that will show up for us. We don't want people that will judge individuals. Just because you came out of incarceration does not make you a bad person. Start your life over. Start from where you are right now and make it better. We have decisions that we can make, but we all have to be in support of one another.
Thank you.
Please repeat the question.
Besides election season, what have you done to stay actively involved with our seniors, youth, and the broader community, and how have those efforts prepared you to serve as our state rep?
Anybody in here knows me, knows that I've been doing that work of a state representative for the last 13 years. I've shared my mother with this community. People know, they've seen me on social media, how I took care of my mother, how I take care of the elderly. up at the Intervision Empowerment and Consulting Center, we regularly have Christmas parties for the youth. We engage with the local colleges. I teach young people how to fix cars, how to do things so they can put money in their pockets so they don't have to go out here in the streets and sell drugs and so forth. I mentor. I also, one of the things that I do is I'm an entertainer. And I sing, and a lot of people know me from singing, and I've done plays and so forth, and I love to bring that type of musical joy to the people because I believe that the soul needs to be fed with positive, empowering things. And that's why I started the Intervision Empowerment and Consulting Center, because I was homeless and I was hopeless, and I understood that God blessed me with the talent that I could bring and uplift the people.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I am a teacher, a coach, a father, and I'm a mentor. And I've been mentoring kids for years. It's not always on Facebook. I'm not always going to put it out there. But helping kids get to college and work through their issues has been my passion for years. Being a father has been my passion for as times my oldest daughter has been born. And with being a father, you become a father to other kids as well. Being a role model. Teaching is not a thing that you can just walk away from when you leave the building. Teaching is when I see my students out in the community, hey, Mr. McKnight, what's going on? And guiding them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Since we're talking about youth, though, there is another question, and that is, Springfield is filled with youth, yet we have no youth center or third space for them. The youth are our future, so what is your plan to get one and encourage our youth? So we'll start with you, Johnny, and then we'll do Nicole and Donnie.
Yeah, I think, I just like I was saying, I am fully committed to bettering our youth. I'm fully committed to giving them the tools and the resources that they need. If we need to build a new community center, if we see and there's a case to be made for another community center, I'm all for it. But I really want to make sure that we have the resources, and right now we don't have the resources that we need. I really want every single youth in this city to have a summer job, and youth that are able to work year-round, as a part-time job, I want them to have that experience too. I used to run Career Point down in Holyoke and provide those jobs for kids all the time. And I know the impact it has on them. So we need for our youth to have more jobs. So that's what I'm in favor for.
Thanks so much.
For me, I think we need to start looking at all of these empty properties that we have here, a lot of these businesses that are not being used, that are just taking up space. We need to bring in developers that don't mind investing and turning this into somewhere for our youth to come, because we have the Boys and Girls Club, we have the center here, but those are not enough. A lot of our children don't have a ride to get there, so how do we meet them halfway? How do we provide transportation that's needed? We have to figure it out together, and a lot of things are a conversation, but a lot of people, they know the right people to bring to the table, but a lot of them don't want to share their resources because who are you and why would I help you? We got to stop doing that. We have to be okay with sharing, because sharing is caring, and if you care, then you want to have a better Springfield. So we have to make sure we do that. We got to continue investing in our youth. I'm a mother of 5. I just dropped my daughter off to North Carolina Central University. She is at a HBCU, so I understand the need of our children in Springfield.
Thank you.
Can you please repeat the question?
Springfield is filled with many youth, yet we have no youth center or third space for them. The youth are our future, so what is your plan to get one and encourage our youth?
Well, that's what got me about that question, because I don't know how valid that is. We do. We do have them. We got the Springfield Boys and Girls Club. We got the Martin Luther King Center. We got it right here. We got the Dunbar.
I think that that's not what they were asking.
And so, could they clarify the question?
It was my question, so I can clarify. The Boys and Girls Club and the MLK Center is a very, I would say, it's not the same as a youth center where kids can go and just do as they please, I feel like, or have a resort or have a center full of resources. So we don't have that at all.
Okay, got it. I appreciate your clarification. So what I would say is, listen to her. Because the bottom line is you got so many adults, so many adults, we get out of touch. And sometimes we don't listen to young people. Some of them have very innovative ideas and solutions to some of the problems. We've been bumping our heads up against the wall. Instead of doing that, listen to them, right? So my whole thing is we need to get more young people involved. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for state representative. I'm not running for state representative to hold on to the title till my cold dead hand like Buddy Williams is doing. No. I want to get into this position, okay, do my best, okay, and when it's time for me to go, I want to pass the torch to somebody like you, because this is a young person's game. You understand what I'm saying right now? I have the wisdom and I have the experience, and I'm here to give it away. I'm not running for state representative to make no money or for a title. I don't care nothing about that. I'm here because God inspired me to do this, and I'm doing it so I can give away all the gifts, talents, and blessings that He has bestowed upon me, so I can give it away so they can take it for their future. I'm all set. I got a retirement. I got money in the bank. I got everything that I want and need. What I don't have is peace in my heart.
Thank you so much. So this next question is, Black men face a difficult time after incarceration, such as trouble finding work and secure housing. What do you propose to combat this issue now and in the future? We'll start with you, Nicole.
I feel like I'm always first. No, sir. For me, I'm a mental health clinician, so I've always helped individuals coming out of incarceration to set them up for a successful future when they're back out here in the real world. We have to help them with housing. We have to help them find jobs, because if we don't help them, they're going to end up back in the same situation that they started at the first time. We cannot point fingers. We cannot sit there and say, I can't help you. Why? You will never know when it's going to be your time, so help people now. It is important for us to connect them with the resources, connect them with the different agencies. We have to do our part. Coming from incarceration ain't easy. I got 6 brothers. I understand. I'm just like, Lord, I got to be in the wrong family. That's crazy. But we have to learn how to support and help each other and not be ashamed or embarrassed or look down on individuals. It is very important that we continue to support people, because we will never be a better community if we don't.
Thank you. We'll go to you, Donna.
That question applies directly to me, because in 2011, I had just got out of prison from doing 8 years in prison. And I went to prison for drug trafficking and weapons possession. And I'm not ashamed of that. You know why? Going to prison was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because when I went to prison, you understand what I'm saying? When I went to prison, I found God. I found myself. And I found out that I was better. When people told me I wasn't going to make it, when they told me I wasn't nobody, when they told me I was going to come back to prison, I said, you know what? I got down on my knees and I prayed and I said, God, I need your help, because I'm not doing this no more. And I'm telling you right now that for a lot of these young black men and women, some of the smartest people I've ever met are in prison, and that's why they're locked up. You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that I did my time, and when the judge sentenced me on my birthday, Judge Factow said, Mr. Wright, you go into that prison and you be a light to those who are still in the darkness, and you come out and you be an asset to the people who love you, and I'm here to represent you.
Thank you. So the question is, Black men face a difficult time after incarceration, such as trouble finding work and secure housing. What do you propose to combat this issue now and in the future?
Yeah, I was incarcerated at 12 years old, and throughout my life, it wasn't always easy having a felony on your record and trying to get jobs. Even as an adult, when my record was sealed, I remember going to CHD and trying to have a full circle moment and be a program director, and them telling me no because of my Corey. And it was, heartbreaking because I just had a daughter, and I was just like, wow, like I thought this stuff was behind me. But think about someone that didn't have a master's degree. Think about somebody that didn't own a home, that suffered that same fate that I suffered, right? That's going to be sometimes the reason why they turn back to the life that got them into trouble in the first place. So I really want to help our brothers and sisters coming out with housing, getting into the trades or education, really trying to be able to turn their life around.
Thank you so much. So I'll follow that question with the federal consent decree on the Springfield Police Department was dropped. However, consistently at public speakouts in City Hall, transparency, accountability issues are brought to the council. Do you believe that the Springfield Police Department is doing enough in these efforts? So we'll start with you, Donnie, and we'll go down the line.
I would agree with that before Commissioner Akers was elected. I think since he's been at the helm, that has changed significantly. I think that the dissent degree is a good thing for the city of Springfield, and the police department now seems to be kind of in line with what the people want. We just want oversight. We want to know what the police department is doing and how they're doing it. Are they beating people up? We've all seen the videos on the news on some of the stuff that they're doing. And we just want to make sure that we're not in the news for the wrong reasons for public safety and our policing, and the right reasons, and that the police are doing what the public wants them to do because they work for us, not the other way around. And we have to make sure that we use our people power to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Well,
As the admin for Mason Square C3 Policing, I'm going to say shouts out to Larry Akers because he's doing the best he can, but we have to not be afraid to speak up. When we see things, we have to speak on it. Back during the George Floyd incident, I put on Unity in the Community event, and that was connecting our youth with our police department and bridging that gap between them where we have they're able to sit down and have intimate conversations so they can have a better understanding and how are they relating and being able to trust the police department. So when we have the oversight, when we have the opportunities to go to these city council meetings and do public speak out, we have to not be afraid. We don't got to wait for an invite to say we got to go and say what needs to be done and how we need to do it. We just got to show up and make it happen, and we got to do it together as a community. When we talk to our neighbors and talk to our friends and our families and they're making complaints, go on the police department website page and file your complaint. That is accessible and that is public to the community. I don't care what's going on. I got kids, and trust me, if I got an issue with the police department, even as the admin for the police department, Mason for the C3, I'm filing my complaint because not all these police officers are doing what they're supposed to do, and half the time they don't write the proper reports.
Thank you, Nicole.
Commissioner Akers, I believe, is doing a really good job turning a bad situation around. What I really want my police officers to do is police. They are not mental health clinicians, and we need either mental health clinicians within our police department, or we need to outsource these mental health issues that are being done by police officers right now. That's when they get into trouble because they cannot handle these situations. They're not equipped to handle these situations. And we need to say, hey, you're not a mental health clinician, okay? We need to leave that up for the mental health clinicians and let the police get back to policing and protecting our neighborhoods. And that's the only way that we're going to have safety within our community. But also, we can't police ourselves out of the situations that we see in our neighborhoods, right? We have to educate. We have to give these young people jobs.
Thank you so much. So we have a lot of good questions here. I think we probably only have time for maybe one more question. And this question is, so the three of you are running against the incumbent. And after September 1st, will you all commit to supporting the other candidate to ensure that there's a new state rep? And so, excuse me.
That's it. That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh, well then, there's nothing.
That's what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to cut you off
Okay,
at all.
never mind then. We got time for another question then.
But guess what? You can say if there was, do we commit to that?
Well, I think there's so many questions here. We can move on to another one that would be, the idea is really about supporting one another though. I think.
I apologize. Thank you. So that question was my question, and I think I've actually asked all of you individually. But the question is that when September 1st is over, one of you will go forward against the state rep.
No. They're
Right.
all Democrats.
Yes, right. But after September 1st, all three of them are not going to go forward. Exactly. So my question is, the two that don't go forward, will you commit to supporting the other person? I know. Right.
So I think the clarity we're looking for is the three of them and Bud are all in the Democratic primary. There is no Republican. So September 1st, when this Democratic primary is over, whoever wins is going to November with no opponent. They will be the state rep. So no one needs to endorse anyone.
Okay, we're not going to ask the question because we are quickly running out of time. So I'm going to just ask this one last question. There are many, many important questions here. And I think it's very important for you all to make sure that you are talking and answering the questions that folks are interested in hearing the answers to. But this is the question: what is your view or position on having data centers in Massachusetts, and particularly in the communities you represent? Why do you feel this way about your position? And I don't know who I started with first, but we'll start with Johnny, Nicole, and Don.
It's a hard no for me. Data centers aren't good. I don't care about how many jobs they provide. It's going to suck up our water, ruin our environment. Under no circumstances, under no situation will I ever support a data center. It's a hard no for me. And I just don't think it's worth destroying our water supply, our community. We already are suffering from asthma. I'm suffering from asthma. So no, it's just more toxic chemicals around our children, and I'm not in favor of it. I would never be in favor of it. And that's my position on it.
He said everything that I was about to say. It's a hard no for me.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, thank you to each and every one of you. You want to give your candidates an applause here? Thank you so much. So before you all leave, please, we just have just a few more minutes. A couple of things. I hope that you all listen to the questions and the answers of the candidates and whether they answered your questions or not. We just want to remind you that there are different ways that you can vote. If you would just please hold on just for a minute. You can ask your candidates questions later, please. Thank you so much.
If you did not pick up one of these sheets when you came in, make sure that you do on Let's Get Ready to Vote, because it will tell you all the ways that you can vote. If you did not sign the pledge card when you came in, please make sure that you do that as well, and learn the different ways that about the ballot questions. And I just want to invite each one of you to find not one, but 10 people that you can get to the polls on election day. 90 million people did not vote in the election. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And before we leave, we have a wrap-up from our Mass Senior Action Group. I'm going to ask them to come, please.
All right, y'all. Somebody lost their keys. Somebody lost their keys. So if it's you or someone you know, we're going to give them to the people who run the church. They were in that back, on that back bench there. Wonderful.
All right, hello everyone. First of all, I was asked to remind you, please take your water bottles with you. Please take your water bottles with you. I just wanted to bring something to your attention quickly. Mass Senior Action over the last 3 weeks have been sending out postcards to residents in Ward. Sim's good. You're a teacher, huh? She's good. I got to get my teacher voice on. We've been sending out postcards to Ward 4 residents, specifically inactive Ward 4 residents, that ask this question. Will you vote for a more equitable future for generations to come? And so I ask you, if you know someone in Ward 4 that's not engaged, that's not here tonight, take one of these cards. It also has all the dates on it. We're just finished Ward 4. We're going to lend our support to Neighbor and also tackle Ward 3, because that's another place that has a really high inactive voters. I think Sim told us the list is like over 1,000. So we also need help. So contact us, contact Sim. We would love to have you on Wednesdays. We're going to have a big postcard campaign, and we are personalizing these. So we're putting your name on this. So if you know someone in Ward 4, please take this. And thank you all for a really great evening. I really appreciate it. Be safe, and I'll see you at the polls.